that's when I received quite a bit of brain trauma self-inflictingly. I also had like an amalgam placed, and I just basically, it wasn't too long after that that I think I woke up one morning and just started punching my head and didn't stop really for like 3 days, and I would just kind of just punch and punch and punch, and by the time I was done, and I really couldn't think or walk very clearly. I was really, it was like this, to me it was like, I knew what I was doing was maybe controversial or unusual, but it was like, and I think the amalgam allergy, I've since had all my amalgam removed, feel better. I'm still trying to get rid of the mercury and stuff. It's, when they remove it, it goes all over the place, and it's been it aggravates the multiple sclerosis as well, and so my recovery, from 2005 onward, I had to learn to read again, kind of thing, where I was reading children's books and stuff. But I think the next thing I involved myself in was in relaying information was like maybe 2006 in the Amish school shooting incident, and so those are the kind of the main things I've been providing information about. Is either civilian, what I call civilian aggression, where one person is maybe attacking one or others, and the other thing is like geological or impending geological events is the words I'm using. Um, um, so between those two, in 2006, I went through. What I noticed in 2006 was, it was about 3 days before that incident, and I ended up miming mostly everything. It was like, you know, I made it into. I was able to perform enough that it's like I was in a character that was kind of influenced a little bit by, I don't know, Harpo Marx was somebody that it wasn't a major influence in my life, but I knew I'd seen like a few of his things, and I guess maybe it influenced me more than I thought, and I was able to kind of just, because I usually am not that out, moving, like, but I just put it all together, and and presented information kind of in a dark humor, which became kind of a theme, and any time I would try to provide information, and in places I either use kind of a comical, satirical approach, just because the response is just, to me, that became how I would respond to the lack of interaction with me, or the lack of feedback I would get, and almost seeming like I'm making a scene or something, literally. But it's more deliberate. But so 2006 there, and then I think 2007 tried to relay some information about the Iran, U.S. or naval, and so I kept going, and I think it was 2009. There was maybe Samoan. I kind of knew about it, and or whatever, the that it was a smaller tsunami. I kind of had a sense of it when it was, but I was preoccupied a little bit. I was focusing on doing other things, and I did maybe relate information about Fort Hood, a lot of, and trying to real detailed information on those incidents, and I've always tried to, as much as would seem practical, try to get involvement from others that, either government or legal or even medical or education oriented people, saying, like, can we talk about what's going on, try to make things, because this isn't, I don't feel like I'm done yet. My drive is, I think the most enduring thing that I've had is uh, inclination is for a tsunami in the west coast of America, and that is where I'm at right now, is because I've pretty much pinpointed, because like around 2009, 2010, I began to have concerns, and in 2010, in about November, I was able to pinpoint Japan as the next one, and that there would be radiation release. I was convinced, but I didn't know. I had, about at that time, I knew the approximate, you know, strength of the quake and the impact on the population as well as the radiation, but I didn't know exactly when. You know, I was saying, you know, it can't be too much longer, maybe 4 months or so, because I was kind of going back and just kind of saying, you know, that seemed to be my range. But I said I'd try to get more detail as I went along, and about that time I started keeping my blog at Yahoo, which is mostly titled under archives at the WordPress blog. And I said, you know, I'm not going to release any permanent, you know, any like overt information. I said, take to whoever I was talking to. I said, you know, take the information, deliver it to whoever and I'll try to follow it up, and I'll just try to maybe make hints. Or to me, it was almost like, you know, nothing was working. I could never get any interaction. I said, I'll make it like a game, like a code, you know, and maybe people will be more interested. And I tried to like just kind of do code like, you know, or hints, but it wasn't very, you know, difficult things like, you know, it was pretty straightforward. But the thing was, I needed to get more information. I needed to, I was not really stalling for time, but I didn't know when. But I tried to give I was able to kind of paint a picture like there'd be more protesting or something, and you know, there's scientific concerns. Something called tectonic strain is supposed to kind of influence people's behavior as well. So it came to the point where I think it was like maybe a week or so before I got more information, and I told somebody to take this or do this information, because I was very busy at these times. I was a caretaker, and it was really just, you know, around the clock all the time kind of responsibility that I couldn't find a median, like a way to kind of mediate what I was doing and everything. So everything just seemed to be just like almost, you see it, you realize that if the will or the drive or the response was there, it could be so much different. Perhaps by that time it was just kind of autopilot. I just was going through the motions, but I didn't have any real. I wasn't very sentimental like in 2004. I was really like, oh, you know, what about the tsunami? I mean, what about the reactors? Are there any reactors? I was almost panicking a little bit, but you know, at that time, and it was by this time I was just real casual, like, you know, it's gonna be in a couple of weeks, radiation release. You don't want that, you know. Let's, you know, you can, yeah. And it was just more like I was just relying on other people to take information to places I wouldn't expect it to get too much of a response. But I wasn't sure, you know, are they going to use it? Do they just not want the the news out, or they just want to do it more? And that's what I was thinking. I just never know, you know.